Call the meeting to order. Please stand for the pledge. Pledge allegiance to the flag of the United States of America and to the republic which stands one nation under God, indivisible, with liberty and justice. And we'll begin with approval of the agenda.
Madam President, I move we approve the agenda with the following amendments. 1, additional certified and classified personnel actions for consideration, item number E-3. Number 2, we will not add item number E-4-8 onto the consent agenda. Instead, it will be moved to new business. We add item number E-4-I, special education for the Individuals with Disabilities Education Act grant assurances. 4, add item number H-2, consider approval of revised 2023-24 school calendar upon ratification of negotiated agreement. And 5, remove number H-1, the Narcan policy under new business.
Is there a second?
I'll second.
All in favor, please say aye.
Aye.
Passed. Okay. No public comment today. We'll move on to recognition of the Ronald McDonald House Top Tab Challenge.
The annual visit to the board of this. This year it was really exciting again. Have you ever watched an award ceremony? And it's the same group who gets everything. And after a while you go, really? You know, I can already predict. Well, this year again, we have another new winner. And that was thrilling for me. If you are one of the reps from one of the buildings who was collecting pop tabs this year, if you would raise your hand to acknowledge, I know Tammy was here, there we go. Tammy Riggs from Buffalo Jones, I'm going to miss her this next year. She has been very, very instrumental in helping us to collect tabs at Buffalo Jones. So we hope every building continues. This year, we raised over 350 pounds of pop tabs. If your building is not doing this, I don't care if you raise an ounce or if you raise 350 pounds. It helps people. It helps people from this area whose kids are hospitalized. So please consider doing that. It's very, very easy to do that. Just your pull tabs and just save them. Let somebody know, let me know. We'll be sure that we get them. This year, it was a pretty tight race between Jenny Barker and George Matthews. And Jenny Barker's principal, Matt, really wanted to have the trophy again. And he told me back this last August, we're going to keep it, And he kept bringing tabs. And I thought, well, he may just end up with it. And then it didn't quite work. So I'm very pleased to say another new name is on this, and it's starting to look pretty cool. It's going around the corner now with the names of the winners. Did you raise your hand as your building's rep? My poor husband has to be the building rep, right? For Girl Scouts. The winner this year, I could have Michelle Kent and Dee Bolin come up and accept the trophy on behalf of George Matthews Elementary School. I'm pleased in a couple of ways. When I started teaching, George Matthews was my building. So it gets to go back to my home building. And there's a little bit of a story. This was one of my students in one of the years. So I get to give this to one of my former students, and congratulations.
Thank you. And I pass it to Dee because she is the force behind collecting the tabs. She is getting the kids involved and telling the adults, do you have any tabs on your pop cans? And then she's chasing down other adults to get their pop tabs off of there. So we couldn't have done this without Dee this year.
Awesome.
I'd like to,
Great job.
yeah, I'd like to say thank you to the Reeds for continuing this program. It is a worthwhile program. I don't know if you've ever been to a Ronald McDonald House. I highly recommend going to visit one because they are remarkable places where when you have long-term illness and have to stay somewhere and you're not at home, it's just amazing what they provide. And for Georgia Matthews to win this and they're one of our smaller schools, kudos to you guys. So awesome. Thank you for doing that. Great job.
Okay, next we have tour of the technology offices. Our tour guide is not- There you are.
Not the one that I had. I can see there.
Okay. Is it mine? Is it mine?
It's a beer.
Which one did you have?
I was just looking at the one that I got.
Friday?
Yeah. I was looking at the one on. Yeah,
Mine.
Friday. Oh, you're right. Okay, never mind. Good to go.
We've had a lot of things. but-
Yeah.
It wasn't under. It wasn't under the amendments section.
Oh, right.
Alright. I'll catch him here.
Now I'm all. Okay.
We used to write us a note, so I have some. Approval of the consent agenda.
Madam President, I move that we approve the consent agenda. As written, revised, as revised.
Any questions or discussion? All in favor, please say aye.
Aye.
Opposed? Motion passed. Next up is board goals update. Sorry, I thought I was missing something. I was reading it first. Is it almost summer? I'm feeling it. While we're waiting for the presentation to upload here, I'd like to introduce you to the staff that I brought. I'm Brandy Oaks, Principal Ina Sharman, and I brought Lisa Katie, our instructional coach. And I brought Angelica Ramiro, kindergarten teacher, and Marina Thomas, third grade teacher, Elaine Mayfield, third grade, and Erica Mean Garcia, kindergarten. So I'm thankful that they came, especially this time of year. They see the end in sight, so I was really happy that they came and were able to celebrate with us here about our Ina Sharman and what we've been doing for our weeks. So as you know, this year we have been working on our wildly important goals, and we have two goals at Ina Sharman. We have a fluency goal and a comprehension goal that we've been working towards. And each of our goals have teacher actions, student actions, and leader actions. So we're going to kind of walk you through those. And then we also pulled out a lot of our bright spots of our data on the wonderful things that the teachers and students have accomplished this year. So this is our first goal. So by June 2023, we said that all of our second grade students will meet or exceed their growth goals in the area of CBM on FastBridge. And so this was our first area of focus that we worked on. And so we'll start with the leader actions, and Lisa will do that.
Okay, so the leader actions are Brandy and myself. To support this goal, we provided a scheduled time for fluency practice in our master schedule that's protected. And then we provided professional development for fluency and goal setting. And we did collaborative walkthroughs together to find areas where we could support our teachers and celebrate as they went forward and implemented this. In our feedback, we used the TNTP language for glows, grows, and next steps that teachers could take to implement in their rooms to improve their fluency block.
And I would just like to add that I have really grown a lot this year as a leader, and especially instructional leader, through doing walkthroughs with Lisa and I. I really valued our feedback together because it's really allowed me to think about things that I maybe don't think about when I go into the classroom. So I really appreciated that collaborative piece.
It's been great. The tool we used for our WIG we could work together and talk about our goals and our next steps and really plan, as we went forward. So, yeah, it was, great collaboration.
For teacher action, intentionally focus on the WIG during fluency interventions and then assessing students, plan fluency activities using student data, monitors fluency activities, conference with the students to set goals. So on that one in the kindergarten, for myself, I have it displayed in the classroom. And so my classroom themes is ocean. So they each get a little fishy. And so when they hit a certain amount, their fishy would grow. And you could see the excitement in the students when they see their fishies moving. And it kind of brought like a competition with the kids. Like, they're like, ooh, his fishy's here. I want my fishy to be higher. So that really helped them set their goals. And then providing fluency charts and data folders for all students. Mine's more displayed because it's kindergarten and they're able to see, but they tell me how many more they want to grow in letters and letter sounds.
Student actions.
Okay, student engages in grade appropriate fluency. Students conference with teachers to set a goal, and students track goal on a fluency chart. And so she mentioned the fishies. In my classroom, it looked a little different. I have kind of a vertical chart that they use clips as they accomplish certain parts of their goal. And then the pictures up here show our students actually during our fluency block working on their fluency every morning, starts the day off, so.
And we also wanted to pull out some data and show you some celebrations. So we have celebrations across the board, but we really wanted to pull out some really big bright spots for you to notice. So this here is our FastBridge screener that we do 3 times a year, fall, winter, spring. And you'll notice that the blue represents the phonemic awareness, the red phonics and fluency, and then the yellow is A reading. And this shows the percentage of change, and this is from fall to spring. So those are percentages of changes. So you can see for phonemic awareness, and the first one is 2nd grade, and the second block is 3rd grade. So phonemic awareness, the percent change was 38%, 6% in phonics and fluency, and 5% in A reading. In 3rd grade, they had a 13% change in phonemic awareness, 10 in phonics and fluency, and 23 in A reading. And so you can see that they made substantial growth in those areas. And we attribute that to that fluency block that we did in that CBM practice, or letter naming, letter sound, NWF, that fluency that we did every day for 15 minutes, and being really focused on that big. And then this is another piece of data we wanted to show you. So this is also another screener that we do with FastBridge, and it's called CBM. So it's basically students are reading a text for a minute to see how fluently they can read, how many words they can read in a minute. And so you'll see the first one's 4th, then 3rd, then 2nd. And you can't see it very well, but this first box here, the dark pink, is flat growth. And so you'll see we don't have that displayed because that was very low. Modest growth is this pink, and then typical growth is like the darker purple, and then aggressive growth is the lighter purple, which you can't see super well on there. But we really set a goal that we wanted all students to either make modest to aggressive growth, especially that typical and aggressive growth. So you can see that in the 2nd, 3rd, and 4th grade, those are large percentages of students that made that big growth. And again, we attribute that to our WIG actions and really being hedgehog focused on our goals in that area. Okay, and here's our second WIG. So by June 23, we said all students will authentically engage with grade appropriate texts daily. And so this was really focused on our reading comprehension.
So the leader actions were professional development on closed reading. We use the TNTP, or Good to Great, closed reading protocol that Brandy and I received, and brought that to the teachers. And then our focus again was on the collaborative walkthroughs. So we could together go in and look at those, the reading block when closed reading was happening. And then give the teachers the feedback that has the glows, the grows, and the next steps. So they could continue to grow in those areas.
Teacher action.
Okay, so teacher actions, selects grade appropriate complex text, plans questions to guide students toward a deeper understanding, plans deep engagement strategies, and facilitates student understanding through aggressive monitoring. And we're going to show you some examples of what we did with that in just
So our student actions, or students are listening and reading a text. Students are responding to text-dependent questions. Students are using a deep engagement strategy to respond to questioning, and students will cite text evidence to support their thinking.
Okay, so this is our strategic planning tool that we started doing this year, and before each unit, we plan it out extensively, and so this is not the entire tool, but the first section, I don't know if you can see it, but talks about the ways that we engage students. So they do turn-in talks, stop and jots, Kagan strategies. And then we also implemented this year, or in the past several units, we started doing some review activities before we do a unit test. And we did trash kit ball and sink or swim. So they're just little games with review questions, and they had a ton of fun doing that. And then our strong instruction strategies we have the close reading, assessing and advancing questions, juicy sentences, which is a TNTP strategy, working on syntax and sentence structure, fluency, and then we also do that, like I do, we do, you do. So that's kind of goes along with the 3 reads, which is another TNTP strategy. So the I do is kind of the teacher modeling. The we do is collaborative work as a group. And the you do is their assessment or their exit ticket to leave the lesson to see if they have gotten the gist of what they were supposed to learn. And then we also do a lot of pre-planning, and we'll show you that in a minute also, but the pre-planning involves reading stories ahead of time, looking for any background knowledge they might need. For example, this unit, there was a story about spinning flax, which is very old-timey concept. So we had a video to show them a spinning machine, how the flax is put in and how it's turned into thread. And we had to explain what flax is. So there's a lot of like old-fashioned language in these stories that we have to give some background knowledge on, or they're not going to understand it. And a lot of words like old-fashioned words are in some of the stories that we also have to explain. We can go to the next
It looks horrible.
one. It does. It's all very good.
So this is kind of how we plan our closed reading and going over vocabulary words that the students might not understand. And to keep it simple, we kind of think of like a synonym, so the kids can kind of just write down the one word so they kind of know what the story is about and what the word means. Like we collaborate together through all of our lessons, and so we use our student data to figure out what the kids don't understand. And we have our text-dependent questions that focus more on a paragraph where they have to find the answer in the paragraph. And to go back with citing their paragraphs when they give us an answer, like if they give us an answer, they have to tell us what page they found it on and which paragraph they found it in, so then everyone knows kind of where they're looking at. There's kind of.
So this book, we're going to pass it to the board, but basically we color coordinate or color code the I do, we do, you do. And this is this is our pre-planning. And so we already we know what we're going to model and what paragraphs. We've already come up with text-dependent questions, and we've also do correct any misunderstandings they may have. And then the you do is usually for the student to write a summary or to retell the story. And then we're also going to pass an example of our unit project. So at the end of every unit, we do a project based on the skill that they were learning. So this one was writing a folktale. So they had to come up, they had to know all the features of folktale. They had to decide what the moral of their story is going to be, decide what the characters are. They have to have dialogue in the story, and then they would have a beginning, middle, and end. So this was a storyboard that they created, and they all made their own stories.
While you're looking, I want to give our teachers a shout out with strategic planning. We implemented that this year, and the district provided a template. But these teams have just taken that planning to such a high level. As you'll see, that's for one story, the planning that they're doing. So for PLCs, they get 1 hour, to strategically plan for a unit, but we get through, I mean, a very small amount in an hour. So these teachers, they spend so much time doing this planning and taking these different strategies and making sure that it's engaging for kids and, giving the cooperative learning. So kids are actively learning and not just doing the sit and get. So.
And that was a
shout
lot
out
of
to
time
them.
spent out of contract.
I did want to ask that question, actually. So the methods that you're talking about, these are drastically different than what you used even last year.
Not all of them. We started learning TNTP strategies, 2 or 3 years ago? So I think there was a goal to try to implement strategies a little bit at a time, so we're not overwhelmed with like all this new stuff to try. Marina and I are kind of weirdos, and we just want to jump on it and start trying it right away.
Weirdos, you're just kind of nerdy.
Big nerds. So we have implemented almost all, I think, of the strategies that we've learned through TNTP. And we really think that it's improved our instruction. We think it's improved our scores. And I don't know, we just really worked hard this year.
So we did. And this was the first year that we did juicy sentences, and we get our sentences from our closed reading stories. And I feel like that's made a difference too with our scores for them to understand grammar and looking for like the nouns and verbs and how to write a full sentence. And I really like it. The kids really like it too, because they get like a little slip saying they have the juiciest sentence and they get a piece of gum. So they like strive to have their sentence, the juiciest.
So did you both go through did you do the summer program? Or one of you?
I did.
I did.
You were at a different school at that time, weren't you?
But I did it in January. I did the
we did it at
TNTP.
different times.
Oh, yeah.
Yeah.
I think we've all done TNT.
What grade is this?
We're in third
This
grade.
is
Third grade, we're talking.
So to pull out some data to kind of show you what working on closed reading has really supported our students is that in the younger grades, they do early reading. It's more foundational skills. But in the upper grades, they do A reading, which is more broad overall reading. And so we pulled up our kindergarten data. Again, this is a % change from fall to spring. And so you'll see in kindergarten, they made 16, 24, 27, and in third grade, 13, 10, 23. So large percentages of growth from fall to spring based on using all of these strategies. And then in the upper right-hand corner, we just got our CAP scores back recently. And so we hurry and plug that in as well. So these are our third grade SIT assessment scores. And I'm super proud of our students and our staff members because in third grade, we beat the district and we came really close to being the same as the state. And I attribute that to what you've been hearing tonight with this commitment and dedication to planning and teaching and using the strategies that they've learned and implementing them and taking feedback and running with it. I'm just really proud of our staff and students and what they've been doing. And so we're gonna end with just sharing some things that we've done that have really changed the way we teach and the way we instruct, and we attribute to our large amounts of growth. So staff, if you just want to shout out some of the things that.
I know one thing with doing letters, when both of us are doing letters and kinders, and it has really helped with even just looking at the data and even looking at the report card, how many of the students just went from high, like no being below to being exceeding the expectations on a lot of the report cards. And letters is one thing that I really appreciate. We just got done doing our first year of letters. And then another thing too is implementing Haggerty. That was a huge, we started this year and I seen a huge growth with the kids when it comes to sounding out 4-letter sounds. It's so hard for them to hear and to break apart, especially like the blends, like the CR, the CL, that they're able to hear them. And last year they couldn't do that. And it's just, we just didn't know how to properly teach them, and Haggerty has really played a big part.
I feel like the TNTP strategies, letters, Haggerty that we're doing, and soon next year, UFly is all just going to come together, and it is coming together already, but very excited to see the future with it all.
And I think the fluency block that we added was amazing. I mean, it increased our fluency CBM scores incredibly. It's every single morning they read the same passage for a week, but we do it together as a group. We read the passage together as a group, and then they partner read and listen to each other. They correct each other for errors or prosody. And I think it's really, really helped.
And in kindergarten, that was a little different. We practice letter names and sounds fluency, and so they're getting that accuracy and speed down, and it's a every morning thing that we do that.
And we've also implemented during our intervention time when tier 3 students are getting their interventions, we're pulling and it's one-on-one, and we're going through the fluency with them. So we can also hear the mistakes they're getting. We don't want them to learn the letters incorrectly or the sounds incorrectly.
And I'll just also lastly add, I know I already shared about our collaborative walkthroughs, but I have just been really appreciative of the TNTP collaboration time that we've had. And I attend those trainings together, and we learn and grow together, and then we take what we've learned back to the building, and she plans really good, intentional, productive PLCs so that we can tell the teachers what we've learned, and then they can take it to the classroom. And so I've been really appreciative of that collaboration and that PD that the district's providing us as well. It's very helpful. Thank you for taking time to listen to our celebrations. Just really proud of our staff and students at Edith Sherman. They've had a great year, and they've worked really hard. And we're almost done.
Good morning.
You have any questions?
I do have another question, sorry. Right in there, but so one of the faculty meetings that I attended, they talked about all of the new kind of things that you've talked about, letters, maybe like several, I think they mentioned 4 different things that maybe were new. I don't know if it's just this year or in the last couple of years, but so where would you say that we are? Because one of the things that we keep hearing is we just get a grasp of things and then it changes. So how do you feel like your grasp is of these things at the end of this school year? Like, is there, like, do you feel confident that the majority of your staff is, confident in it, or are we just starting?
I think it varies from what the different initiative we're implementing. So strategic planning was new this year, and it varies by experienced teachers too. So some of them, like the ones that you just saw their example, I feel like they're very solid. We have some new teachers or student teachers that just finished up that are still growing in that area. So as the instructional coach, I support them, with that and help them through that. Haggerty, I think we feel like that implementation is pretty strong.
Yeah, I think it's very strong.
Haggerty.
I started that, I did that during TNTP.
You
I
know,
got to dip my toes in it during TNTP last summer, and then I was able to bring it into the classroom.
UFly will be brand new for our building. So we haven't implemented any of UFly, the phonics program. So, and that will, take some time, but as it grows and as teachers become more confident and proficient in it, I think we're gonna see huge growth in phonics. And then, letters. I know that it's a lot, but I had that training like 12 years ago when I, still in kindergarten, teaching kindergarten. And it is gonna be a phenomenal amount of information in the science of reading for teachers. I know that it's
I
a
knew
lot, but
it
they have
is.
learned so much and have been so excited about knowing the science of reading and the why. Why do we do it this way?
One thing I can say at our last meeting that we had, May 3rd, Heather had shared, Heather's Stegman, she had shared a PowerPoint just to show where we were at as a district, where like it was the early reading, which is the kindergarten screener. They showed teachers where the teachers that are using letters training and the teachers that are not using it, the growth and the difference of growth, kindergarten.
Difference between the teachers that were using it and the teachers that had not began to use it.
And
So
you could
it
just
was
see the
amazing.
growth. We were so excited to see that, all the hard work and we put into letters, because it is, I mean, we're reading, we're taking quizzes. I mean, it's putting all of that into the classroom as well.
I think the short answer is it's always a work in progress.
Yeah.
And as we get new teachers or, of course, they have to learn our programs and implement them. So it is a work in progress, and teachers at different levels, implementation. Some started UFly this year because they had, the materials, others are starting in August. So, and then we'll have a whole new round of teachers doing letters starting again in the fall.
Like I said before, I feel like it all kind of goes together. So like there will be bits and pieces. It's just like adding more tools to our toolbox. It just is, but it all kind of is based off the same kinds of reading.
And I will say that the TNTP training and implementation has been a lot. But at the same time, I want to give kudos to our leadership because they've given trust back to their teachers. And so they are trusting in our professionalism to adjust as we need to look where we need to focus our attention and not say, you need to do 15 minutes here, you need to do 15 minutes here. And they've given us that trust and treated us like professionals. So I appreciate that.
I don't have any questions. I just have a couple comments. First, I just want to thank you guys for all the hard work you did this year. You're close to the finish line, but I know it's been a long year, so I appreciate that. And second, I just see the teamwork that you guys have and how you have the passion to want to teach your students and grow as teachers. And I'm super excited for that. So thank you for that as well.
I do have one more question. Well, because there's so much and a lot of things come across our table. So we're making, we make different decisions on a lot of things. And one of my questions is because training. So there's obviously a lot of training that you do. And you mentioned that you as the institutional coach and admin go and get the training and bring it back to your building. I asked about the TNT program and the training just to see hands-on because now you've had various ways of training and that is my question. So is the best method of training, and I'm sure it differs. I'm sure there's not one best because we all learn differently and are able to get information differently. But my question is the first-hand training the best form of training, or does it work to get do you have enough hands to be the instructional and take it back to your entire building?
Kind of a loaded question.
Okay, sorry.
It's okay.
I'll ask you later.
No, that's okay. I do think the ones who experienced the direct TNTP training were prepared more quickly than the ones that I take the training to. Because the time is limited, for me to train. So when teachers did it in the summer or did it throughout the school year, like Marina did, they're getting it directly, consistently. When the training comes from me or the two of us, it's an hour here and an hour there. But then that also gives them a chance to implement it. I try to give them small action steps. Like, for example, the close reading, that's a big part, of our 3rd and 4th grade reading block. So I can give them the training, but then we can go in and we can do a walkthrough. And we can collaborate, give them feedback, and then give them small action steps that can be implemented in just small steps. Whereas when you go to TNTP, it's a lot at one time. So I think it could be either way.
I thought the summer training was amazing.
Yeah,
Because
and
it was
that's what I
small.
went to, was summer training
Summer
plus all the
training,
other.
Yeah, when we had summer school and we had actual students to
Practice.
learn, practice, implement, and get feedback all together, all within the few weeks. That was really powerful.
I did it 2 years in a row, 2 summers in a row. And so like the first summer I did it, the focus was reading skills. And then the next summer it was math. And so I got to see 2 different, I thought that was amazing training. I benefited from that a lot.
I also feel like our building helps each other. So if we have a good strategy to help our 4th grade teacher, then we're not afraid to show them or let them come in to watch us do the teaching too. So it takes them off of Lisa, so they can come and watch a teacher that does it all the time, and then we can help them implement it in their grade level too. I think we have a lot of teamwork in our school that we're not afraid to help other grades too.
And they're so willing to open their classrooms and say, come on in, come watch. We do trading spaces. Not as much this year as we have in the past, but teachers will just, say, who can I watch? Or I'll say, why don't you go watch? And everyone's just very open to letting people watch them teach and, going out and trying it themselves. So we do have a lot of teamwork in our building.
Thanks for answering all my questions. And again, like John said, thank you so much for all that you've done. Your
Thanks
sports
for
are
having us.
Thank you, guys.
Yep, program.
Thank you, ladies.
I'm Jamie Schwer, and I'm here to speak on behalf of the Engage After School programs. Part of it will focus on the elementary schools that have the 21st century grants. And then some will focus on the elementary schools that have the ESSERs. So as you can see on the slide, we have 5 elementary schools that have the 21st century grant: Gertrude Walker, Jenny Wilson, Alta Brown, Victor Nallis, and Florence Wilson. And then Gertrude Walker is in their 2nd year of their grant. Jenny Wilson, Alta Brown in their 1st year. Victor Nallis and Florence Wilson are in their 3rd year. So the district has 3 grants with 5 schools. So VO and Florence Wilson are together on 1 grant. Gertrude Walker stands alone on their grant. And then Jenny Wilson and Alta Brown are tied together on their grant. And then for Florence Wilson and Victor Nallis, Sonia Duran as
I
the
have
site.
both of the schools for the 21st century. And so this year, this semester, I had to, deal with on my own with
Melanie Marcy retired, so she had, Victor Nellis, so I kind of just took over her building.
And then I have Gertrude Walker, Jenny Wilson, and Alta Brown. Here's kind of some just brief details about the grant. Grants are given for 5 years. The last 2 years of the grants, the funding gets cut considerably. And the expectation is, how can we manage this on our own without the funding from the grants? The grants all have outside observations 4 times a year. Gertrude Walker, since it's a standalone grant, it has its 4 observations, and then 2 and 2 at Alta Brown, and then 2 and 2 at VO and Florence Wilson. Alta Brown was also just observed by the Kansas Education Network, and they have a partnership of somehow with the 21st Century Grant. So they came from Topeka out and observed the program at Alta Brown. And then this summer, KSDE will come out and do an observation at Gertrude Walker. And then Sonia's 2 schools, VO and Florence Wilson, we had a compliance, our first compliance check with them this year. They were supposed to come out, then they didn't come out. So then we just kind of had to send things back to them electronically. We haven't heard anything, so everything must be well. No news is good news, right? With the 21st Century grants, we do have to have community partnerships. And so Sonia and I work with these organizations listed here. They come into our programs, we schedule with them, or they provide things for us. And then they come and work with the kids. That is one of the main criteria when you have to check off all your boxes for your reporting for 21st Century grants is, who are your community partners and what do you do with it? So this is kind of who we partner with.
And we also add the retirement center, so the kids once a month would do crafts for the homestead and then the Garden Valley. So they would do, and the residents love those little arts that they get every month. So we try to do that at the beginning of the month.
This is kind of our after-school attendance for this year. Breakdown on the students.
Yeah, VO, we ended up with 55, Florence Wilson with 40.
And then Gertrude Walker's 59, Jenny Wilson 36, Alta Brown's 45. Staffing is a same old that every administrator in this room deals with. We have the same issues, enough staff to go around. For us, we're asking teachers, paras, anybody within the district to give another 2 hours of their day. Where you have the same issues with substitutes. Some days you have them, some days you don't. If you don't have a substitute, we become the substitute. Or if you need more than one substitute, you're combining some groups to make it work. Survival of the fittest for that day, get through the day, do the best you can, and tomorrow will be better. But it's a couple times a week, we're trying to figure out what we're doing and how to manage it, just like principals do every morning. This is kind of the focus of the after school programs. We've phonics, fluency, vocabulary comprehension, math, STEM. We have curriculums that we do use for these. Hoping to bridge that gap with their peers, bring those lower students up. For a lot of the schools, ESL population we have here in our school district, the vocabulary and comprehension becomes extremely important. The tutor's reading a story, they've identified higher level vocabulary words. We're showing them the word, we're showing them the picture, helping those children make that connection, put that picture in the brain with that word. It's more apt to be remembered. We use the FAST Bridge for how we identify students that we're recruiting. Phonics screeners, all those same kind of things that they use in the day. We use those tools after school to help move and identify the kids. For the non-grant schools, we have Buffalo Jones, Edith Sharman, Jenny Barker. Sonia does have Jenny Barker with her other two schools, and then Buffalo Jones and Edith Sharman. I just had head teachers at those buildings, and I just helped those head teachers facilitate the program within their school because we didn't have a site coordinator there. So I just kind of became their go-to person. So those schools were funded with ESSER's funds. So they ran a little bit shorter. They just did 2 30-minute rotations where the grant schools do 3 30-minute rotations. So they ended their days just a little bit sooner than the other 5 schools. Nick put some, I don't know how to make this adjust this. This is some data that Nick put together from FastBridge into Illuminate into the slideshow. This is the early reading. This is comparing. Do you know how to make it to where all of my slides will show? It's cutting off the I don't know if there's a setting. I was asked to compare after school versus non-after school. Okay, I'll just tell it to you then. For the high risk, for the after-school program, we were up 5% and the non-after school was up 7%. For the some risk, we were down 4 and the non-after school were down 7. The low risk, we were down 1 and the non-after school were down 0.
I'm sorry, can you explain what does that mean again, the up and down?
So the difference is for the after-school program, we had in comparison from fall to spring, our high risk went up 5% and the non-after-school people went up 7%.
What went up?
In the early reading for K through 1,
The number that was in.
the number, the impact.
Number of students? Okay, all right. For this one, it's the A reading for 2nd through 4th. And you can see the after-school numbers. And the not after school was for the high risk was down 1%. The not after school for some risk was up 2%. The low risk was at 0 for not after school, and the advanced was down 1%. And this is all from the FastBridge screeners comparing fall to spring. This is early math, K through 1. And for the not after school, it was down 1%. For the not after school some risk, it was down 2%. And for the not after school, it was up 3%. So we are helping to close some of those gaps, or making some of those, that difference for some of those students. A math, 2nd through 4th. After school is 1%. You can read that. And then the not after school is 0. For the some risk, the not after school is 3% up. The low risk for not after school is 1% up. And the advanced for not after school is 3% down. And then this is, we just got some pictures of some things we do. We've got some math activities going on the table. There's some STEM activities going on with the kids with the tables covered with paper. Looks like a paper mache kind of day.
They're making practicing making a piñata. So that was just a small practice before, because they ended up making a bigger one. So that way they can know the steps too. So they had a lot of fun.
And then this one, we've got, we talked about the vocabulary and comprehension earlier. This is a classroom with it. The tutor's got the words identified. She's going through it. The kids really like this rotation. Thursdays especially, because Thursday's game day. So on Thursdays, it's vocabulary day. And so all the vocabulary words they've used that week, and then some for the prior weeks, all get incorporated into games. And those little burgers, they might not be able to read the word, but they can go point it to you and they can match it to the picture and they have it. You know, they might not be able to say that word, but they can do it. And they get pretty excited about knowing their words. And then this one is a math group and then a phonics group. As you can see, we kind of don't do things like they do during the day. We're on the floor, incorporating fun things to do with it, kind of mixing it up so they have a break from what they've seen during the day. I've got with me some of the tutors, so I want them to introduce what they do. We have a lot of tutors that don't tutor in their home building. They travel to another school to do it. We've got ones that come from the high school, elementary teachers go to a different elementary if we need them. So we're really blessed that they are willing to travel and move and do it.
I'm Nicole Russo and I'm the head tutor at Alta Brown and I do phonics, mostly phonics groups.
I'm Antoinette Martinez. I am the head tutor at Gertrude Walker and I do the SRAV. So I read the book and I do the vocabulary and we just have a blast.
And I'm Sonia, the program coordinator at Florence Wilson and Victor Nellis.
Amanda Johnson, Gertrude Walker, and I currently do the math rotation this year. I did STEM the first 2 years, so it's kind of nice to do smaller groups. Different.
Heather Shiloh, Gertrude Walker, I do phonics, and then there's also fluency in my rotation.
At the high school, but I travel and go to Gertrude Walker and the phonics too. But they also have expertise in teaching the young kids before I went to
I'm Mimi Dabajo. I teach high school biology and I do the STEM program at Jenny Wilson.
And her STEM stuff, is what she teaches at the high school, she just brings it down to an elementary level. And those kids are learning some good things in STEM because of her knowledge from being a biology teacher. So these are just a few of them. The sites that Sonia and I have, we had head tutors at those buildings because we can't be in those buildings at all the time. So those head tutors are in charge of doing what we would do if we couldn't be there. If a kid needs picked up early, they're there to help dismiss them. They're there until all the kids are picked up. If someone's sick, they're there to call mom to come pick them up. All of those kinds of things. Ladies, have anything you'd like to add?
I'd like to add that my kids really love the after school program. I know this week they've all been really sad that it's not going on. This is my second year helping. I was a tutor my first year helping with the after school program. I can definitely see, especially focusing on the phonics aspect of it, where like you'll have those moments where the kids just get it. And then they can kind of pick out those rules in their text. So that's kind of fun to see. Stay that extra 2 hours or so, but it is rewarding to get to help. And I'm in my own building, so help my own students and our students in our building continue to grow because a lot of them need that extra support.
Same lines, I'd like to add as well. It's kind of cool when you're in class and the kids are like, oh, I'm in a word with you, Mrs. Martinez. And then, you know, every week we're like, is it game day? Is it game day? They love game day. It doesn't matter what you play, just as long as you're excited, they're excited. Sometimes the game is a flop, and I'm sad to say we've had 1 or 2 of those, but most of the time they're engaged. they're engrossed in their learning and they just want to play the game, and they want to play the game Monday, Tuesday, Wednesday, and Thursday if you would let them. So it's a lot of fun.
You know, that purposeful play is a fabulous thing. And I wanted to make a comment to you that are tutors. That extra 2 hours, that makes for a long, long day, like you said. But kudos to you for doing that. I mean, that's just fabulous. Not only speaks to your profession as teachers and instructors, but giving of your time. Time is precious, and for you to add that to your day for the purposes that you're all doing it, I just applaud you for that. Thank you so much.
I would like to say, my daughter has helped with it through Farm Bureau. And she wishes she could live. And she's a high school student, so she loves going in, and I know that the kids seem to really like it, she says.
Especially when they bring animals like chickens and
She
things.
brought all of her chickens. Yes, she did.
Chickens were the big hit,
She
yes.
brought her chickens.
Yes. I mean, kudos to the staff that do these, but we also have to give kudos to these kids and parents. Because these kids are some of the kids that show up at 7:30, 7:45, waiting for the doors to be unlocked to come to school. And I'm not sending them home until 6 o'clock in the evening. You know, so kudos to those kids that tough it out and stay and have the stamina to make it that a long day. But when they get to the after-school program, it's like a whole new world has hit them, and they're excited and they're happy and they're chatting with their friends, and we really don't have many problems just because they want to be there.
Is
So
it open to any students?
I do have it.
How are they selected for the program?
So our first priority is tier 3, tier 2 students. So we use the FastBridge data to tell us who falls into those categories. And then we recruit those first. Once parents have signed them on, then we use the phonics screeners and things that the interventionists use during the day. That's how we know how to place them into groups. If they're fluency kids, they're doing a fluency program. If they're phonics kids, they're doing phonics work. Everybody gets the vocabulary comprehension. Pretty much everybody gets the STEM. Then the math groups, we pick the kids that are the lower struggling in math, and we give them the support there. If I still have available spots, I recruit a lot of tier 1 kids just because they may be a sibling to another student needing help. With the tier 1 kids, the last 2 years, I've done book clubs with them. So they're reading chapter books, they're sitting and having book discussions, learning that maybe not everybody has the same interpretation from something they read. And Tanette's my only one here that's done the book club. So tell them a little bit about the book club stuff.
We, in my group, we choose a book together. We do a book tasting. So we find out what books are interesting and we take a vote. And once we've voted on a book, then we get started with the book. We talk about predictions, what the book might be about, what they think might happen, you know, all of those kinds of things. And then we get started on the reading. And then after our first chapter or whatever, we have a discussion about it. What did you learn from this? What did you notice about the character? You know, we have discussions. And then we keep going through and we're reading and we're, you know, having like a round table discussion. Like, I find this interesting, or, you know, I didn't quite understand what this word meant, so we'll stop and we'll, you know, dive into, well, this means this in this context, but keep in mind, it's a multi-meaning word. So the way it's used here may not be the way that it's used in other sentences when you read it. We also sometimes do a writing activity, like, or a project based on the book. So like one day we were reading the book and we made our own book, our own cover, and we wrote things in our book that we thought was impactful from that story. We just do all kinds of different things just to make reading come alive for them and to understand that, you know, reading can be fun. Reading is necessary because you do it all day long every day of your life for the rest of your life. Like if you're going to a flight, you have to know when your flight departs, what gate you have to get on, all of these things. So I remind them of, guys, this reading for fun is awesome, but you also use it and utilize it every day in your real life. So we just try to make things pertinent to what they're going to be doing the rest of their life. And I don't know, it's just an amazing to see where they come from when we first start, where they're shy and they don't really want to talk. And then pretty soon we have everybody wanting to talk. No, Mrs. Martinez, I think this, or I disagree. That's not what I think. I think this because, and then they give you a reason why they think that. And so we just build layer upon layer to make sure that they have a firm foundation and have a love of learning and a love of reading. So.
No, go ahead.
Okay. So you say each night is like a 2 or 3 rotation?
Yeah, each night we'll do 3 rotations. And they're a 30-minute rotation. So we dismiss at 4:10, from 4:10 to 4:25. Yeah, 4:25, because I have to make sure I don't violate contracts. They get a snack, and weather permitting, they're outside, they get some recess time. Bring them back in, they dismiss with all their appropriate tutors. They're with that tutor for 30 minutes, then they rotate. Then they're with another person for 30 minutes, and then they're rotating again, and then they'll do their third rotation with a totally different person. After that, they all come back, bus kids here, walk kids here, kids getting picked up by rides here. 6 o'clock comes, we're getting them out the door, and our night is done.
What did you say those rotations were?
So they're doing either a phonics rotation, they're doing a fluency rotation, they're doing a math rotation, they're doing the vocabulary comprehension rotation, they're doing a STEM rotation. They're getting some type of reading, at least 2 readings and a STEM, a reading, a math, and a STEM, depending on what that kid's needs are.
What programs do you use for the different elements of reading?
For the phonics stuff, we've got a Readings Crossroads curriculum that we use, and 95%. For a fluency, we use the 1-minute reader. It's kind of similar to a Read Live. Or what's the one?
Courses of fluency.
Courses with Fluency. And those are both fluency pieces. And then this vocabulary and comprehension, that is our own. The tutor picks out their own book, identifies their own vocabulary, and creates their lesson from a book that they've got from the school library, public library, books that we have. The STEM is kind of a broad thing. We don't have necessarily curriculum for that. That can cover many, many things. Our guests that come in, our business partnerships, a lot of those help provide the STEM component to our programming. The math at my 3 schools, Jenny Wilson, Alta Brown, and Gertrude Walker. I have a math curriculum, Number Worlds, that we use there. And they turn it in to Sonia or myself. So there's some accountability, so we know what they're doing. These schools are grant funded. And at the end of the day, if we need to have something to show what we've done, how we did it, our lesson plans and such is kind of our documentation to what we're doing and how we're doing it.
Does the grant dictate the curriculum, or you were able to choose the curriculum?
We were able to choose the curriculum, which for us, we were lucky enough, we had the KRR grant for 5 years. So KRR basically bought our curriculum, and we've just been able to continue with it.
And this is 4 days a week, right? It's
Yes.
Monday through Thursday.
The rotations are all done in kind of groups.
Some groups are small, like 3-5 students. The phonics groups are smaller. The STEM groups are bigger. Ask Ms. Tabajo.
16. Some of my rotation 16s, and these are multi-grade level. So I have a first grader, second grader, third grader, and fourth grader in one session. So what I do with the curriculum is that sometimes I use high school laboratory activities, but I modify it so that it's, students would be able to grasp and like practical concepts, health, about the environment. So it it has to be like general where first to fourth grader could relate to, and they like to do hands-on activity. And so Miss Shear always provides engineering like materials. I request for materials for like building bridge, roller coaster, everything is well provided. So it's kind of different from the high school. So from freshmen, I got kids that hug you. So it's kind of different, and I'm learning. I am trained to handle high schoolers, but it's kind of different world. And I walk into Jenny Wilson and kids are, and they're so excited and they're huggers. And high schoolers are not huggers because so it's fun to do it. It's my first year to do it, and I've learned a lot. Dealing with school kids, lower, elementary kids.
And also real quick before we dismiss, I just want to say Jamie is amazing. She's like the magic woman. If you need something, she has it there the next day. I don't know how she does it. I don't know when she sleeps, but she really, I can't say enough good things about Jamie and how smooth she, at least what I have experienced in my years at Gertrude Walker, has run that program. As a tutor, I never want for anything. If I need a game or my kids liked a game, I just have to mention it, and then boom, it's there, it's prepared. I mean, she's just like a magic bag of stuff. And if she doesn't have it, she gets it. I can't speak enough good things about Jamie and the things that she does for my school and has done for me as a tutor. She's made that job really easy, and it's taken a lot of things off my plate. So I really can't say enough about Ms. Schweer here.
She takes good care of the staff.
Yeah, she does.
Well, on top of her finding stuff that you need, she gives you things that you didn't know you needed.
I appreciate both program coordinators that grants don't work without it. And ESSER funds. You guys manage the ESSER fund accountability too?
Well, we help with the programming, but the ESSER funds, you're gonna have to go that way. We just are the boots on the ground for those.
The individual principals maybe, or?
Well, I have had teachers at those other buildings. Sonia does the Jenny Barker. So that's one of her schools that she oversees as well. She has 3 and I have 3. And then the other 2, Buffalo Jones and Edith Sherman, I just have head tutors in those buildings, and they kind of run it. And then they just bounce off of me as, what do we do here? How do I do this?
Because all of this, we are thinking down the road we want to see this good work continue with or without the grant. So we got to have the funding somewhere, and that takes institutional knowledge and sounds like we got a little bit of time to adjust, but time marches on.
It does. Time goes fast.
Have to be aware of that funding.
Previously, it has been funded with at-risk dollars, so there is a potential to continue it there as well.
Well, just thank you so much for what you guys do, those extra hours in the day, not, with the kids already going through a full day, you already going through a full day. It's a lot, and obviously you are an excellent leader because you're able to keep people coming back to your program, even though it's definitely a struggle, but that is a testament to your leadership. So it's just all really appreciated because I know those kids need it and obviously value it. So
Thank you.
One quick thing, we will have a summer school program. It's only gonna be housed at 2 elementaries this year. There's some construction, HVAC things going on at buildings that normally would host them. So Sonia is taking all of her things and from both buildings and transferring to Abe Hubert. So she will have Florence Wilson, VO, and Buffalo Jones all at Abe Hubert. And then I will take Edith Sherman, Alta Brown, Gertrude Walker, and Jenny Wilson and have all of them at Gertrude Walker. I think you're at 95, 96 something.
Yeah.
I've got 115, so we're looking at over 200 kids that will get, elementary wise, that will get a summer program.
What does that, how many weeks does that run in?
It's 3 weeks, 4 days a week, June 5th through June 22nd.
With the same hours, same time of day.
8 to 1:30.
The
So we'll
same
Private
criteria
availability.
gets those kids into it.
Same criteria. We'll feed them breakfast, feed them lunch, and then send them home at 1:30. So. The only thing that'll be different with summer versus after school is the STEM stuff, they'll come back to grade level. So all fourth graders, so all the STEM stuff will be grade level wise. As to where that doesn't happen right now in the after school program. So.
Thank you all very much.
Thank you.
Thank you.
Thank you.
Presenting.
Okay, next up, we'll consider the approval of the revised calendar for the 23-24 school year.
So last week, the negotiations, group met together. And one of the things that we, agreed upon was the calendar for next year. What that student and contract day would end up looking like. So. Part of the verbiage that we, agreed on with that, and this is all tentative to the negotiated agreement being ratified. So it was agreed that the teacher duty day will be 7 hours and 30 minutes, which is a reduction of 20 minutes from the 22-23 contract. The student contact time will be 6 hours and 40 minutes, which is a reduction of 20 minutes from the 22-23 contract. The teacher contract day will include a total of 50 minutes before and after school duty. The contract length will increase from 178.5 days to 181.5 days, and that'll include 2 additional building professional days and 1 student contact day. Those 2, so the additions and some of those changes. Jason met with the calendar committee on Friday, and they voted on Thursday. They voted and agreed that the professional development days will be added to August 10th and March 22nd. Then the student contact day is added to May 23rd, with the teacher's last day being on May 24th. They approved the calendar with the new option and would need the new calendar approved so that the information can be sent out to staff before they leave for the summer. So option A is up here on the calendar or up on the screen. If you need me to move it, please let me know. All tentative based on negotiations being completed and ratified.
How many people were available for the calendar committee on Friday?
Great question that I am not sure.
I was on the call. Maybe a dozen or so, 13, I think, when we're on that call. So there was a vote night before, and it was pretty much split. I think it was 5 votes for option 1, 6 votes for option 2. And then we did a Zoom call Friday morning, and it was pretty much consensus. I mean, I think almost I don't remember anybody. I think it's pretty much consensus amongst everybody on there that option 1 was the direction. There was a couple of people that offered up reasons why they were in favor of option 2, but kind of into the call. Jason took kind of a straw poll of everybody, and everybody basically wanted option one that spoke up on the call, so. Yeah.
I think what the hope is for calendar committee to have action so that they can communicate it out to teachers before the end of the year. If you recall, last year, there were some last minute changes with the calendar that kind of created a kerfuffle with it. So I think the idea this year is to get that out in front before people leave for the summer, so that they have an idea of what next year will look like before returning. So again, of course, it's tentative.
Still with
so-
the caveat.
Yeah, we wanted
And
to
how that-
work hard and negotiate. We kind of wanted to get this done as a priority, so it could get out before the school year, and so teachers could plan ahead.
We spent a little bit over 3 hours on Wednesday night trying to hash this out so that this timeline could kind of happen, so.
So as negotiators, you guys feel that this is, you're in a place where this discussion and this vote tonight makes sense to the process, right?
Yes. Yeah. I think we had a lot of discussions, a lot of good ideas were brought up both sides. I think this, we're meetings with principal that we had that wanted some more of the 3 days. I think we got that in there. I think we, the consensus was nobody wanted the 20 minutes to continue the extra. So we checked that off the box pretty quick, and then I think it's good. I think it's valid.
I think we had a total of 11 options we looked at, maybe.
I think by the end of it, it was, like 13 or 14,
Yeah,
if I
it was,
recall correctly.
Different,
Different ways to skin the cat,
kind of
right?
had to just meet in the middle. I don't know what we had to do.
I think it checks most of the boxes for both sides.
I think one of the things that I remember specifically talked about Friday, option one has a one day longer Christmas break. There was a lot of talk about students that are from out of town or out of state, that being important and having that calendar option. Option one actually puts a little bit, there's 83 and a half days in the first semester and 87 in the second, where option two had that a little closer together. But that comment about that extra day over Christmas break was pretty important.
Then I move that we approve the revised 2023-24 school calendar upon ratification of negotiated.
Second.
Any other discussion or questions? All in favor, please say aye.
Aye.
Motion passed. Thank you. Yep, and then next we are going to have some discussion on the professional development training, or questions, I guess, training agreement.
Try to answer best I can. So this kind of come along, we, last year we were flagged for significant disproportionality. And so, through that process, we had to do a root cause and come up with an action plan. And so one of the things that we found in that was just a need for some help with discipline and help with behaviors. We're seeing a need for that. And I think this year we've heard a lot from teachers about the struggles that they're having. And so that's it kind of checks a couple boxes. One, it's going to meet the needs that we have for significant disproportionality and the funds that we have to spend for that through our action plan. But two, it's also going to allow us to serve our teachers and our kiddos based on the needs that they have for behavior. I'm excited that we're going to have 2 more PD days added to the calendar. So I think that definitely opens up some potential for us. But one of the struggles that we have, and the reason that we kind of went with the model that we have, I know there's some concern about not having everybody be able to attend and not have everybody in front of them. We kind of went with the TNTP model just because we have seen some success with that, where we'll have Dr. Scott come in July, and that'll be open to everybody in the district that wants to participate. and then kind of follow up throughout the year where we'll do just like TNTP does, where we'll take little chunks and we'll work through that and then the principals and others will take that back to the building and work on that through PLCs and kind of move forward with that. That's kind of our hope for that.
How did you make the selection of what?
So with Dr. Scott, so working with the folks that we worked through at KSDE, he came very well. He's pretty well respected, and we've done some research, and he's got a lot of books that he's done on behavior. Yeah, and if you look at his YouTube videos and stuff, and so just word of mouth and kind of Suzette Goldsby, who's the PD coordinator, and I kind of visited with him, and I think what he does and kind of his behavior modification really kind of aligns with a lot of the things that we're doing already, and so I think it's just building on that.
We were discussing this at least a year ago in May, correct?
Yeah, the plan, we've been working with Dr. Scott. So Suzette reached out to him. I waited until we had the first calendar ratified so we could get dates. We needed to be able to have dates to kind of put that together. And so that's when we started a few months ago, really having the conversations with him.
So each of the dates that you have, is it different groups? Is it the same training in different groups?
No, ma'am, it's different
So it's-
trainings.
It'll be the same group, just different
Yeah,
aspects.
so it'll be principals. What I'm seeing now, and I'm gonna visit with principals more to make sure if there's other folks they want to come, I'm open to that. What I see that is our building principals will all come, just like they do for TNTP, our school counselors, school psychologists, behavior consultants, because those are all the folks that are going to be supporting behavior. They would be a part of that process, and then it would be responsibility of those folks to take that back to the building and then follow up based on where we started in July, and not everybody's going to go in July, and I get that. It's just kind of like TNTP. We didn't get everybody to participate there, but if we can get a good number of people to participate, then that will at least give us a good starting point to kind of move forward. And the plan is, talking to Dr. Scott, what we kind of talked about is kind of, he's going to kind of do just basically an introduction and kind of go through things on that day in July and work through that with teachers. And then I also would like to buy books for everybody that participates in that, so that they have books from him. But then after day one, where do we go next? And so creating a plan for when he comes back the first time so that we have that. And then based on that, they take that back and start implementing some of those strategies within the building. And then I don't want to set the plan in motion, I guess, to say this is exactly what we're going to do each day, because I want that to be dictated by the needs that we're getting from the staff. So after day one, and we work through that, what do we need to do for day two, and what do we need to do for day three? And so we're kind of create that plan as we go based on need and data that we're collecting.
Is it for all grades?
Yes, ma'am. Pre-K-12.
I have a few questions. Oh, did you want to go, John?
Yeah, I just had a quick question. So the contract reads that there's basically one full day and then 6 half days.
Yes, sir.
Would it be logistically better to have more whole days, or does that not work just to the cost of the travel?
Yeah, so, and truthfully, John, the reason I did that solely was based on what we were doing with TNTP. So that's kind of the model that we followed with TNTP. The facilitators for TNTP come and they spend the morning with us, and then we go back to the building. We could sure look at doing that. I'm not opposed to that. I think the big concern was just having all those people out of the building. If we have all the principals and all the counselors out of the building all day, that's, we don't want to have them out. So that was a lot of it. And really, I feel like what we've done with TNTP, we've seen some really good successes with it. And so I was just trying to, mirror that same model.
So
I'm not opposed to changing things if you guys need to.
Are there parameters for that funding that we have from that? It's funding because of this disproportionality? So is there parameters, like, do we have to use that within a certain time frame?
Yes, ma'am.
When does that start?
So we have until, help me out here, December, it has to be liquidated by December 2024, correct?
Yep. And then,
So if I can kind of follow up with that. So our plan is to have Dr. Scott come and do this year. One of the other things that we identified through a root cause was a lot of our kids, so and I think I sent this out to you all, it's been a while, so but we've been flagged for having too many of our students that have been identified for OHI, which is other health impairments. Too many of our white students have been labeled OHI. And so basically, we're 3 times more likely to identify a white student for OHI than any other student based on our data right now. One of the things that we talked about is a lot of those kiddos that we've identified as OHI, maybe they don't necessarily. So in order to meet the needs for special education, I'm kind of going in the weeds here, I apologize, but give you a little background. In order to be identified as a student that receives special education services, you have to answer 2 questions after you kind of go through all the data. The first question is there a disability? So you have to answer yes to that. And then the second question is there a need for specialized instruction? Okay. Oftentimes you answer question 1, yes, there is a disability, but that doesn't necessarily mean that there's a need for specialized instruction. And so some of those students, maybe they need a 504 plan where they just have some accommodations that you put in place to support them. And so the plan is to have Karen Hossey, who is an attorney in Nebraska, who's really well known in the kind of the tri-state area. She does a lot of, I've been to a lot of her, the Tri-State Law Conference that I go to every year in Omaha. She speaks a lot to 504s. And so we're trying to get her to come in January, spend some money on doing 504 training. The other issue that we talked about, one of the other things that we identified through our root cause was that a lot of our families may not have access to go to the doctor to get the diagnosis. We found that a lot of our kids that are OHI have a diagnosis of ADHD or other diagnoses. And so knowing that a lot of our kiddos may not have access to that. So one of the things that was suggested was have Ruby Payne come in and do a training on poverty. And so that's my plan for August of 2024 is to have her come, which I don't know if anybody's familiar with Ruby Payne, but she's incredible. She was in Dodge City, I think about 10 years ago. We've done a lot with her. And so we've got some things in place that we want to spend the money on. And I think the great thing about this is it's money that we have to set aside to do these specific things, but a lot of it's things that I feel like we need to do for our district anyway. I mean, I feel like behavior is something that we've needed to do. We've talked about that a lot this year. I mean, training paras are really, oftentimes struggle because they don't have the training. A lot of our new teachers need that. A lot of our veteran teachers need that. We're seeing a lot of behaviors that we've not seen typically, so.
I think that's what concerned me was that none of the training time would be direct training.
The July one.
Except for the July, but
yeah.
that's not mandatory, right?
No,
TNTP, were they paid when they did the TNTP program in the summertime?
Colleen, I think they were. Yes,
So
They did stipends.
yeah.
that's what I thought. So
Colleen and I are working on that.
Okay.
We're not averse to paying them.
Not averse to paying them. We just got to figure out the funding stream to do that.
Funded function for them.
So I think we've got some ESSER funds that we correct. I don't want to speak for Colleen because Colleen's the money lady, but
the other thing, a few more questions. So principals and counselors, are they working in July? Are they still on? I'm sorry, I don't know their calendar schedules.
I think they're done. I can't remember. Was it the 19th, right? Or the 20th?
Yeah, they're done.
I think that's the week before they come back.
Okay, so nobody is really, none of the people that we want to attend are still on
Correct.
their work schedule. Okay. The other thing that I wanted to ask is, so we obviously have had some presentations on the SEL curriculum that we're using that specifically address behavior and how some of the schools have said that it has drastically improved that behavior. And I don't remember, I can't regurgitate exactly, but I remember Melinda Stewart saying, can I fundraise? I want this program? How do I get this program? And I'm assuming that there's a lot to these programs that we have probably not fully embraced and what I feel like I'm hearing is yet another guy coming to bring other ideas. And
So-
that's one of the things that we've heard a lot about is that we are constantly getting new things, and we don't even have it, or we just get a grasp on this, and then we're asked to then have new things. And I understand that, that would be very frustrating.
Sure.
And it's not just this year. I mean, this has been something that I've been hearing as a board member for many years.
True.
So obviously that's a huge concern and I'm wondering, is this gonna just add another layer of behavior?
I think to a certain extent, we're comparing apples to oranges a little bit. So when we look at what we're doing with Dr. Scott, that to me is more classroom management, behavior modification, not necessarily social emotional learning. So those two things are different. They're connected and they're cousins, I guess I would say, would be the way I would describe that. You got to, a lot of our teachers are coming in and they just don't have the pedagogy, especially when you look at the number of teachers that we have that are coming in as teacher apprentices. Our student teachers that are, I forget what the word is for it. What are they called, Joe? They're able to be the teacher of record as student teachers, advanced student teachers. Those sort of folks, oftentimes they don't have the pedagogy or the classroom management background that a lot of our teachers that go to a traditional four-year program would have. And so I think that helps with that. And truthfully, I mean, I know it's been 100 years ago now, but when I went through my coursework, back in the old days, we got 3 hours of classroom management, and that was basically all we had. And so there's not a lot. I mean, a lot of what they're going to need, they're going to learn. And so classroom management and just disciplining students and knowing how to do that is going to look different than the social emotional piece.
So do you think that the other curriculums that we have don't encompass classroom management and discipline?
I think those are going to be a lot of getting our kids to treat each other the way that we want to be treated, to get them to learn how to be productive members of society. But as far as immediate discipline and how to handle things in the classroom when you got a kid who's screaming and yelling and with outbursts and things like that, how do you address that? That's not going to be a social emotional piece. That's going to be a classroom management piece.
So you're saying the curriculum, I'm sorry, Josh, I'm
No.
harping on this, but so you're saying the curriculum would probably be more student focused, whereas he's gonna come in and do, I mean, not that it doesn't, the
Yes.
curriculum.
I
doesn't
think
guide
this
teachers,
is
but
going to give the teachers the tools in their toolbox to deal with the discipline issues that arise in their classroom. That's my hope. That's at least my plan, I
And
guess.
you don't feel like the current curriculum that addresses.
That curriculum is going to teach the kids how to behave properly in the classroom. That's going to give those kids those skills, but it's not going to give the teacher the skills to deal with those issues in the moment.
Okay, and that's maybe the apples to
Yeah.
oranges, like very, okay, thank you.
And I will say, the price tag, looks a little high, but when you look at his daily rate, you get an outside consultant for $2,500 for the day, I think that's what it was in the contract. And then $1,500 for the half days. That is really, really good in the world of education. So, I mean, what we're getting him for the entire year is what a lot of our speakers would get for one day. So I feel like he's very, 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 very reasonable. Yeah.
So are those dates if we approve that, are those training dates set in stone? They can't be, like John said, would it be in the message to have less half days?
I think a couple things. Yeah, I think that's totally the impression that I got from dealing with Dr. Scott was that we could move those things around. The only thing I would say is his schedule, because he is very well respected. He's all over the place all the time. And so I know he's coming into us from like one place, staying with us, doing our thing, and then he's leaving to go to another spot. And so we just have got to be able to get him on the schedule. The other thing I would say is now that we've added a couple of extra days, they're both building groups, but we might be able to work something out there too. I mean, I'm not opposed to that. I would love to have him in front of people more. I think that would be great. It's just the needs that we have for professional development are here and the days that we have are here. And so I'm just trying to get something for our staff. Because I feel like, this is not something that we can wait a couple years to do for two reasons. One, the grant, but more importantly, I feel like our teachers need help now, not later with this. And so whatever we can do to get those services in front of our folks is what I would like to do.
Do you have any concerns? So this is kind of use that same TNTP model where principals, counselors, like psychologists, get the training, get the continue training through the year, and then go back and teach the teachers in their building. You think that taxes their available time throughout the year to, they're already doing like the TNTV training through that same kind of time allotment in the day?
So Jason and I kind of talked about that a little bit. I think what you've got to do is just schedule those days throughout the month. So week 1 is going to be TNTP, week 2 could be working on discipline, week 3 would be data. I mean, I think you just set up those weeks and schedule that for every month, and that's kind of how you do that. Would be what that would look like.
You feel comfortable that this is not putting too much on their plate?
I mean, I think it's gonna, full disclosure, I think it's gonna add some things to people's plates, but I also think the need is there that I don't think we're gonna get a lot of resistance. I think people will be excited about having the support. Because that's something that I've heard personally, I mean, from a lot of administrators, a lot of teachers, the struggles that they've had with behavior this year.
That's the discussion that's been had to negotiations too, is that they want something to protect the teachers.
I have one question.
Yes, ma'am.
Is there a reason for the particular date in July and not a date when they principals are back?
I can certainly look at that. I think the reason we picked that day was just, we picked a day where he was free. I'm not opposed to looking at a different day when principals are back. I do know that when we come back, principals have a lot on their plate, so I wasn't sure that they would want to do that. But yeah, I'm totally, we can do that when principals are under contract. The benefit to that is then they have to be there.
Yes.
So yeah,
That's-
totally open to
I
that.
mean, I feel like if we're spending this much money, if it's that much needed, I feel like they need to.
Sure. Yeah, and we can, I mean, I think it's fine if you guys approve the expenditure. We can tweak the dates. I'm totally fine with that.
Is this just done by leadership, or is there any SAC conversation about this?
I've talked to SAC about this coming. Yeah, I've shared it with them a couple times, the dates and kind of the plan for it. I haven't gotten anything, honestly, I haven't gotten anything good or bad from those conversations, really. I do know that a lot of principals have told me that they feel like we need something, so. Yeah, I feel like that's the big benefit to, you know, like I said, the money that we've got, we have to set aside to target this, but it's really wide open, and so we're basically taking money from one pot and putting it over here, and so it allows us to get some PD that we felt like we needed already, so.
I appreciate your willingness to answer questions tonight, because we kind of put that on you.
Yeah, no worries. I'm just glad that I was able to answer all your questions. Anything else?
Is this something that you need voted on tonight, the contract, so you can move ahead planning dates, or?
If we could get it, I would appreciate it. That way we can get the contract to Dr. Scott, because he's got to sign it. I sent the contract to, I got with Jennifer Cunningham. She put the contract together, but I haven't communicated any of this with Dr. Scott yet. So if you guys are comfortable, if not, that's fine, but we can communicate that with him. But if we could, I'd appreciate it.
I mean, for me, I think I've kind of put out there my concerns is that, and the timing for all teachers and all people to be there. It does concern me
Sure.
to spend that amount of money. It's not mandatory. It's not going to be paid. Or maybe I didn't ask you if it was mandatory. I suppose.
Yeah, I can't make it mandatory because it's outside of contract. So what I can do is, if you guys will approve spending the money, then I can get with Dr. Scott and see if we can find a day when principals are back on contract. And then I can have Jennifer redraft the contract for us based on that date, providing that we can find a date that will work into his calendar.
That was a big concern for me.
I feel better with that.
Okay.
I may have missed it. Previously with principals that do training or something over the summer, we've given them a flex day, so they've been able to then
Not for
flex out.
PD.
Not even
Not
for,
for PD.
okay.
No.
I thought we did that for TNTP.
I don't know the answer to that. But I know typically, like if I go, when I was a building principal, if I went to an in-service somewhere, I wasn't allowed to count that for flex days.
Yeah, and if you guys know the logistics of how training works and you need your people in your building and stuff. Travel, come out here.
Well, one of the things too that he talked about was that he can do Zoom with us too. I just didn't feel like, from my experience, I just don't feel like you get the bang for your buck with Zoom, you know. Principals are in their buildings, they're on their computers, people come in and interrupt them, you know, and it's just, I just don't feel like the quality is there like it is when TNTP happens in this room and we have all the building administrators in here and we have the facilitators running that. I feel like everybody's engaged and it's really powerful learning, and that's what I wanted. But I'm open to that too, if you guys would like to look at that, go down that avenue.
Do you have a recommendation about whether this training is best in half-day sessions or day? I guess my thought is sometimes sessions like this, it's like drinking from a fire hose. And if you try to take too much in on a day, you just.
Yeah, well, that's part of it. And the other piece that it was just having everybody out of the building for the entire day was my other concern too, Andy.
I have a question. If we would do for, well, I guess it wouldn't. I guess I was thinking maybe split up the day with the same training, different people, but we would need more sessions.
And is this for, you might have said it, and I missed it. Is this for everybody like paras that or just for?
The full day
Yes.
for everybody. I was just gonna do certified, but I'm not opposed to opening it up to classified if you guys. I don't think it would hurt anything.
Well, some of the things that get. brought up-
Oftentimes the pairs don't go to the PLCs to get the follow-up that we're gonna get from that. So, because they're in multiple classrooms, so that's the piece that's hard.
I think it's important that they are provided that.
Yeah.
To that staff.
Dr. Dominguez and I have had many
I
conversations
just
about
don't know how
how
you make it work.
the hard part with our paras, and I'm hopeful that, you know, that changes, but the hard part with our paras is we have such a turnaround with them, you know. You get somebody really trained and you get them going really good, and then they leave you in December, and then you work for the next 3 months to get the next person trained, you know. So that's the struggle that I have too with the paras.
Perhaps the extra professional development days too would help with scheduling somehow.
Yeah.
If we could.
And that's where I feel like if we could do some of that, and then we could really allocate some time in the buildings even, you know, where the principals could really work with their staff on some of that stuff.
That helps solve my questions. Thank you.
With the messaging that you just experienced, some of the questions, I guess I would move that we approve the expenditure.
Second. Discussion.
Is that with him attempting to do a day when they're on contract?
Yes.
That's why I understood.
I will work on that.
Okay.
Yeah, I'll get with Suzette tomorrow and we'll see if we can get a Zoom set up.
If possible.
Yes, ma'am.
Okay.
And then what's the plan B if we don't?
It'll be.
Yeah.
Wait, is that a deal breaker for you?
We gotta have it.
I mean, I'm fine with, surely there's gotta be a day between July, whenever we come back, and the first day of school where we can get something. I'll work on that. I don't have a problem with that. The only thing is the only other thing that I would say is there's a lot of other things that are happening when we get to like August 1st, 2nd, there's a lot of other trainings. So I don't want to compete with other trainings. So I think that's going to be.
Some of our staff really need the training.
Yeah, agreed. So, but yes, I'll get a hold of Suzette first thing in the morning if you guys approve it.
Any other questions or discussion before we vote? Okay, all in favor, please say aye.
Aye.
Opposed?
Thank you, guys.
Thank you, Josh. You're not loud, right? Is that a deal breaker for everyone, anyone? Okay, I'm back on the first page, so. Board open discussion.
I'll start. Okay, graduation was awesome. man, we had awesome speakers, the Hall of Fame speakers, the student speakers, which was fantastic. So just always the icing on the cake of what we do here to get to see all the kids that process. So appreciate all the time that went in there. There was a heck of a lot of chairs to set up, all the people that work behind the scenes. It was just a really, really nice ceremony. So I appreciate everybody who put the effort into making that happen.
I don't have too much except my regrets for missing that. Graduate, so it's at a different location. That it's just amazing how that all comes off, and that's all the dedication of the staff. I guess it rained a little bit, so good thing it's indoors.
Yeah. Rained a little. I'll piggyback on what Dana said. Graduation was really good. Dana and I were also at the Hall of Fame banquet, and it was induction tremendous. It was awesome. It was really good. I'd never been to one of those, so that was really nice to be able to go to that. Randy and I have been doing negotiations. I think for the most part, it's gone pretty well. The negotiators on I think on both ends. I think it's gone very well. That's it. Ready?
Yeah, graduation, it was an honor to be there. I was privileged. It was fun. I was glad I was able to make it. Again, I'm amazed by the hard work that everybody puts in every day. Every day, every board meeting, it's a new program, or you get to see, the accomplishments and how hard people work, and just appreciate it. It's an honor.
Yeah, I just think the last month of the school year has just been filled with so many band concerts and awards and all that. And it's just a really neat time in the year just to be able for all the students to showcase the things they've learned through the year and, recognize different accomplishments. So kind of all coming to a close now. I think there's a couple more this week, but it's been a really great month, and feel that our teachers worked really, really hard through the course of the school year on a lot of fronts. And it's just really kind of neat to see all that on display here for the last several weeks.
Crescendo of 13 years of school, so it definitely huge celebration. Hall of Fame, my first Hall of Fame was very exciting. Actually very moving speeches in, and then we even got to hear Matt Allen sing at graduation, so that's I told him to do his soft shoe, but he didn't go there. But anyway, that was actually very 400 people, young people graduate across the stage. That's amazing. That's a huge accomplishment for their next chapter in life. So yeah, very exciting. Last month, as you allude to, it's really just once again crescendo of 13 years of their education. It's a community. It takes a community to raise a child, and we did it and walked that many across the stage. So very exciting.
We have a lot of regional action this week, and I believe theater even has a play coming up, so lots happening after school gets out. Also the elementary, I think they get to have some fun days this week, so lots of celebrations. And summer does not end. Teachers working, I know that a lot of them do a lot of planning and getting ready for next year, and there's some time just to reboot and be ready for fall. Did you have some?
Well, I think, is it Wednesday, teacher appreciation banquet?
5 o'clock.
Yeah, pretty cool event. Really encourage the teachers to come out, different schools, and scream and holler and support their staff that are maybe retiring or certainly getting their service pins. And it's a pretty cool event. So.
Okay, our next board meeting will take place on Monday, June 5th at 6 p.m. in the board meeting room. We will move into executive session.
Madam President, I move we go into executive session for
Say 20, but if Josh could be there too.
I'd say 20 minutes.
for 20 minutes for consideration of student due process appeal decision pursuant to the exception relating to actions adversely or favorably affecting the student under KLMA, beginning at go straight in at 8:05. And the open meeting will resume in the board meeting room at 8:25. I would like to invite Dr. Dominguez. Is Jennifer coming? Jennifer Cunningham and Josh Guyman to join us in executive.
I'll second.
Okay, all in favor?
Aye.